Hello and welcome to the Agape Leaders Monday Motivation. This week, I'm going to do something a little different. About a year ago, actually a little over a year ago, we had a guest on this platform. Her name is Mary-Katherine Black, and she spoke to us about partial vision and being able to go with just a partial vision. And I was so impacted by this talk that I wanted to bring that same talk back into this second season because I think it's that important. I pray that you will listen to the words that Mary-Katherine speaks and then heed them. Being reminded that sometimes you're not going to get everything. Take what you have and start moving with that, and God will meet you on your way. So without further ado, here is a reboot or a repost of this week's Agape Leaders Monday Motivation and Mary-Katherine Black.
Hi, my name is Mary-Katherine Black, and I own an online fashion brand called Yllw the Label. And as I was thinking about Motivation Monday and what I was going to share with you guys this week, I realized that the most unmotivating thing for me and for many other people is when you don't have vision. Now, it's funny because we just turned the corner of a new year, and in 2020, everyone was saying 2020 means perfect vision. Then we had this crazy year where a lot of people felt isolated, confused, thrown off track. But what is so interesting about that is that the way you develop actual vision, actual faith, is when you can't see. It's when you're in the dark, right? So I do believe that 2020 was the year of developing vision, and now it's our year to put it into place, to walk it out. But what do you do when you just have partial vision? Because I have never, in anything I've ever done, had complete vision for what was going to happen, for what God wanted to happen, for what I was supposed to do. I've never, out of any phase of my life, operated from a place of complete vision. Now, it's great if you have complete vision for the next year, for your next career, calling, whatever it may be. If you have complete vision, then you can check out right now. But if you just have partial vision, I'm going to speak to you right now because the most motivating thing is when you can know that you're headed to the right direction. And I wrote a couple things down. Understand, first of all, that if you don't have any vision at all, that God wants to give you some vision. So one way that you can ask Him for this in the next 24 hours, in the next week, in the next year, is to ask for Him to speak to you in the nighttime. As I was starting my brand, I was fully convinced that God had not spoken to me. Actually, I was convinced that I was doing the most logical thing in sight, and I was asking for Him to tell me what to do with the next entrepreneur phase of my life. But as I progressed and as I prayed, one day I remembered, as I was trying to name my company, that I had had an encounter in the nighttime, a dream with the God of heavens and earth. And in that dream and in that nighttime encounter, I had seen visually something that caused me to name my company later Yllw the Label. So it was the first time that I'd ever heard God's audible voice ever in my life, the audible voice of God, which I never understood. And as He was speaking to me, what I could see visually was an entire scene, but everything in that scene was glowing in this golden yellow color. Now, if you look in the book of Revelation, you find that that's biblical because it talks about the streets of gold. The word for that is actually golden yellow, right? So I say this because I tell you this story because I had been asking God for vision for the name of my company, for the name of my clothing brand. And what actually happened was I remembered something He'd already showed me, something that He'd already told me months previous, like way before I was ever even asking Him for a name for this clothing brand, and He had already showed it to me. So oftentimes when we're asking God for a vision, He's asking us to remember and asking us to dig deep in what he's already showed us. Some of you have dreams and you're asking for the next step in life, like what am I supposed to do in this lifetime? And instead of God giving you a fresh word or a new word, you need to go back to something he's already spoken to you, already showed you about yourself and your gifts and your talents. And that's actually your partial vision right now. So number one, if you don't have vision at all, ask him for it. Ask him to give you dreams in the nighttime. Ask him to show you areas where he's spoken to you in the past to get that partial vision. And then what happens is if you are in that place where you've been given the partial vision and you're just like, it's too scary to move forward without the full picture, understand that the journey of God is much more like a GPS than it is a roadmap. Because with a roadmap, you can see where all the different roads are taking you and where they connect to the next road and where that road is going to lead you. And you can look from a bird's eye view and see it all mapped out. That is not the journey of God oftentimes. Oftentimes it's much more like a GPS, right? So you're driving on the road and all you see is, the next half a mile in front of you. And you're like, okay, well, where's that taking me? What's my next turn? But you don't know the next turn until you're 0.3 miles and then it says turn right in 0.3 miles. That is how the Lord oftentimes speaks to us. And that's how he's spoken to me the last year as I've been faithful with one part of launching my company, just making the steps even when I didn't have the full picture. He's all of a sudden given me revelation and vision for the next step. And then when I enter that step, he gives me the next step because we think we would like our lives to be from point A to point Z. A, B, C, D, E, F, G. But the journey of God is oftentimes from point A to point T to point C, and then you get to point P, and then all of a sudden you're at point Z, but actually he is the goal. He is the only goal. It's not point Z. It's not any sort of destination. It's walking in intimacy with him, hearing his voice, being nimble, being able to say, okay, now he says this, yesterday he said that. And so for me, I'm seeing the beauty for the first time. And I encourage you to see the beauty of partial vision because scripturally, you see that a lot of people had partial vision, but they ran towards what they were told, even if they didn't know where it would take them. And so I'm seeing the fruit of that in my life, and I just encourage you to run when you get partial vision. And if you have no vision at all, ask God for it. Because he will bring the people and he will encounter you in the nighttime. I don't know if you know this, but the Jewish day actually began in the nighttime because that's how the Hebrew culture actually believed so deeply that God would speak to you and your day would start in the night. So thanks for letting me be a part of Motivation Monday. Again, the most motivating thing is when you know that you're on the right track. So ask God for vision and be confident when you get even just a little piece of it to walk forward.
Well, I'm so thankful that Mary-Katherine did that video for us, like I said, about a year ago, and I pray that you got something out of that. I will tell you this, that young lady and her husband have been grinding, and the Lord has been their guide. Those two, Justin and Mary-Katherine, their desire is to serve the Lord while they are doing whatever it is they're doing. So I encourage you, go over to Yllw the Label and support that brand. You will not regret it, and you will be supporting somebody who's truly trying to serve God. Take a look at what they're doing on their platforms. You will not regret it. Well, that's all we have for this week's Agape Leaders Monday Motivation. Until next time, you have a blessed week.